Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Jaded Blossom's brand new January Valentine release is now available, and there are so many fun items in this release. The release includes several stamp and die sets, so let me show you what I received. I will have links provided in the description box if you are interested in any of the products I use in this video. First up is the XOXO stamp and coordinating outline dies. Lots of great sentiments. I love the Valentine sentiments, but there's several on there that you could use all year round. We have love you, hugs and kisses, so those are perfect. And it's always nice to have the coordinating outline dies. If you don't like to do any stamping, they do have a Valentine word die set. You could use just the word, or you could combine that outline to go around the word. There's lots of great sentiments that you can mix and match. There's a couple on there that you could use year round. Jaded Blossom has several word die sets, and I think you could mix and match all those sets as well. The next item is the Gnome Dies, and this set is absolutely adorable. I think these are going to be very popular, so if you are interested, I would suggest not waiting. In the past, Jaded Blossom's new releases have sold out immediately, and I see this being one of those. Gnomes tend to be very popular. I've never really been into them, but that's usually because they're stamps. And since I don't color, this die set is perfect, and it's so easy to use. But what's super fun is they already have an add-on for the gnome set. So here is the Gnome Valentine add-on set. So look at all these fun pieces that you can use along with the original gnome set. You could create a little Cupid. I love the hat with all the hearts. There's the arrow and the bow, the envelope with the little heart. This is such a fun set. I have a few projects to share using some of the new release items. For the first set of cards, I'm using some pattern paper from Blvd. This is their Girl Value Stack. It's all 12 by 12 paper. I bought it, I think, last year, but it is still available if you are interested. I'm using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from Sugar Pea Designs. It's their Sugar Sketch number 9. I'll also be using a few pieces from Blvd's Bella Besties Graph and Dot 6x6 pad. I love that the colors match beautifully with most of their paper collections. So I have the graph in the gray and the polka dots in the orange. I'm layering everything on some black cardstock. And the background paper, I think I'm using it upside down, but I thought it looked like mushroom tops. So that goes perfectly with a little gnome. Before I attach this orange polka dot paper, I am putting some scrap cardstock on the back side. That'll keep it nice and level since part of it's going on top of that graph paper. If you are interested in any of the card sketches I use in this video, I do share all of that information on my coordinating blog post. That link is provided in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. And generally when I add a cardstock matted layer, I add an additional 1/8 of an inch to the measurements listed on the card sketch. For that strip going across the card, that long banner, I'm using some light blue cardstock that has a pearlescent finish on one side. In order to get it at the same level as the rest of the pieces, some areas I'm adding some thin foam squares and others I'm putting some cardstock layers. I think this blue matches nicely with the light blue in the pattern paper. Next I'll add a large stitched oval die cut, and I do have it a little larger than what's indicated on the card sketch. I wanted to make sure it was large enough to feature one of the little gnome die cuts. I put some scrap cardstock pieces on the very lower area of the oval. I'll put liquid adhesive on the back and adhere it to my card. So now I can set that aside and start assembling one of the gnomes. So I have all of the pieces already cut out. I'm going to start off with the beard and also the mustache. I'll add a little bit of ink to the very bottom of the mustache and also the beard, just for a little extra dimension. And I'm using Catherine Pooler's Blackjack ink color. Now I can start gluing together all of the little pieces to create my little gnome. For that background piece, it's that full body of the gnome, including the hat. It really doesn't matter what color you cut that out of, since you're going to cover it all up. I glue down the beard first and then the hat. I'll add the mustache to the very bottom of the hat. I will be using some foam dimension to pop up some of the pieces. So I did that on the nose, and it's just very thin dimension. So I'll put that piece on top of the mustache. And the die set has shoes, or you could do the bare feet. For this gnome, I decided he would wear little shoes. And they're the same blue as his hat. And there are different accessories you can have your gnome hold. So this gnome has a cup of coffee, or it could be cocoa. I used some white cardstock for the mug. Then I have some dark brown cardstock for the coffee or tea or cocoa, whatever you want it to be. I'll glue down the mug first using some liquid adhesive. I did put some foam dimension on the back side of his hands. So I'll just put those in place so it looks like he's holding his mug. Isn't that just adorable? This little gnome is just so cute. Then I'll put liquid adhesive on the back and adhere my gnome to the front of the card. And I do have some thicker dimension at the very top of the shoes, just to make sure everything stays at that same level. For this sentiment, I'm adding Hi Gnomey, and this is from Jaded Blossom's Whimsical Gnome stamp set. So it's not part of their new release. They already have tons of fun gnome stamp sets. To finish off the card, I'll add some bling using some blue gems, and these are by Honeybee Stamps. Also adding a silver glitter heart, and this is a peel off from Love from Lizzie. I always see crafters use a white gel pen for a little detail on their images, so I thought I would pull out mine and do the same thing. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 in blue. Then I also made 2 in pink. Since Bella Boulevard had a similar mushroom top pattern paper, thought it would be perfect to have a couple of pink gnome hats as well. I just love how these turned out. The gnomes are absolutely adorable. Now all of the pieces I used for this gnome are in the original gnome die set. On another card I will be using the Valentine add-on. For card design number 2, I'm using a card sketch from Freshly Made Sketches. This is number 160. The pattern paper is by Sunny Studio. It's their Flirty Flowers collection. I'll be using just the pink. Well, I will have a second card in purple, but the one I'm putting together for you is in pink. So one side of the paper has the pretty flowers and the other has this fun quilted look with little hearts. I'm using some craft cardstock for the background, and I'll layer all of the pieces on some dark pink cardstock. I decided the card needed a little extra sparkle, so I'm adding a couple Love from Lizzie peel-offs in the pink holographic color, putting 2 of them at the very top of the card. Now you won't see most of it. It will be covered up by the pattern paper, but on the very side you'll see that little bit of sparkle from the peel-offs. I'll put my card front onto a card base, leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Next, I'll adhere the banner on the left side. And the quilted pattern, I do need to trim that down just a little bit so it'll fit flush all the way next to the banner. And I like to keep the banner and that smaller rectangle piece at the same level. So they're not on top of each other, they're just next to each other. For the sentiment, I've stamped out Happy Valentine's Day on a scallop circle die cut, and this is the party dress color from Catherine Pooler. The color matches nicely with the dark pink cardstock. I'll put liquid adhesive on the back and adhere it to the card, more on the left side. Now instead of that small circle that's indicated on the sketch, I'll be adding a couple of the envelopes, and these are included in the Gnome Valentine add-on set. I just cut them out of some light pink cardstock. I put some scrap cardstock on the right side of the first envelope and then glued it down. For the second envelope, I'll put some scrap cardstock just on the lower portion, and then I will put some foam dimension on the back side to pop it up. And this is some really old cardstock, as a dark pink on one side and a light pink on the other. I think I bought it in a closing sale at a local craft store here many years ago. I still have several sheets of it left. I'll also add a tiny heart die cut to each of the envelopes, and this heart is one of the dies on the Gnome Valentine add-on set. Just glue both of those down. Then to finish up the card, I'll add a little bit of glitter to both of the hearts using a clear glitter brush from scrapbook.com, and then a few pieces of pink bling, and this is from Honeybee Stamps. So there's my finished card. I made 2 in pink and 2 in purple. The Sunny Studio paper collection would be perfect for making a whole rainbow of happy Valentine's Day cards. And I may go back to that collection since I'll need at least 60 Valentine's Day cards for the residents at a local retirement home. And this was a very quick and easy card to make. For card design number 3, I have some more pattern paper from that Bella Boulevard collection. I love this abstract look, and it also has some gold foil polka dots on it, so I thought that was really fun. I'm adding some pink holographic peel-offs to the bottom portion. And I'll be layering this piece on some gold mirror cardstock. Many times I'll cut a die cut shape out of that background specialty cardstock, but this is some old gold cardstock I've had for years, and it's fairly thin. I'll put my card front onto a card base, leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. And this is a very simple card. I just love that pattern paper, so I decided it was good with basically just a sentiment. I'll be adding the sentiment, "Be My Valentine," and I find the easiest way to line up the stamp and that die cut piece is to die cut it out first, then I put it back in my mini MISTI, line the stamp up on top of that die cut, and then stamp the sentiment. I used Catherine Pooler's Samba ink color, and I did ink it up twice since I wanted a really dark impression. I cut out a second piece using that outline die, cut it out from the foil cardstock, and I'll layer the 2 pieces together and just offset them slightly so you can see some of that gold peeking out from behind the sentiment. I'll put my acrylic block on top to let that glue adhere. Then I decided I would pop up the sentiment, and this is very thin. So I'm using some thin foam strips. These are from scrapbook.com. But even with the narrow strips, I still have to cut some teeny tiny pieces to make sure to get good coverage on the back, since I don't want one side sagging at all. So once I have enough of the little foam pieces, I'll remove the release paper. Then I'll adhere the sentiment in the lower right-hand corner on top of those 2 pink holographic peel-offs. And if you don't want to mess with the outline die, you could stamp that sentiment on an oval or a little banner. I think that would be cute as well. Then to finish off the card, I'm adding some stitched heart die cuts, 1 in gold and 1 in pink. And this is one of the dies included on the Gnome Valentine add-on set. And also the arrow with a little heart at the end. I cut the arrow out of some white shimmer cardstock, but I wanted this small heart for the tip of the arrow in red, so I cut out a second one and just trimmed off that heart. I popped up that larger pink heart, and I'll also put some foam on the very end of the arrow where it goes over that heart. Then one final finishing touch, I'll use the glitter brush and add it to that red arrow tip. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. Even using the same 12 by 12 sheet for the background with that abstract design, the 2 cards turned out different. For card design number 4, now I have the other side of that abstract paper. It's white with some pink polka dots, and it had a large sentiment on there, which I knew I wasn't going to use. It's too large for a card. It would have been better for a scrapbook. I'll layer this panel on some pink cardstock. This card will feature another gnome. So I have all of the pieces cut out. I've inked up the edge of the beard and the mustache. I'll go ahead and start assembling the pieces. You can see this time I'm using some of the Valentine add-on pieces. I cut out the hat with all the little hearts from some teal cardstock and also some pink cardstock. First, I'll glue down the hat. Then I'm popping out all of the little pink pieces from the second hat and just gluing them inside. So this part did take a little bit of time, but it wasn't hard. For the really tiny pieces, I used an embellishment wand to help pick those up. And I think just 3 of the hearts, the ones more in the center, are the same size. Everything else, it only fits in one area on the hat. You could also use the hat if you need a couple of small stitched heart die cuts. I have just a few more pieces to assemble. I think the pink and teal look so pretty together. Now that the hat is finished, I'll add the mustache. And I do change my mind on the placement of the mustache, so I will need to cut out a second one. This gnome is going to have the bare feet, and aren't these cute? So I'll adhere those first. And the gnome will also be holding a little Valentine or love letter. I'll pop up the envelope and then add the little hands on top, and I'm popping those up as well. So there is a little extra dimension on this card. So after I added the envelope, I decided I wanted the mustache on the front, but the other one was already glued down, so I cut out a second, and then I realized I had the wrong color gray, so I had to go and cut out a third mustache. Then I'll attach the second mustache on top, so the very end of it will be over the envelope. Next, I can add the nose. And I'd already put some foam tape on the back side, but I did need to trim some of it off and cut it down. That way the very lower portion of the nose could sit on top of the mustache. I have a tiny little pink heart that I'll add to the envelope. And this gnome will also have some pink wings. It'll be a little cupid. So I'll just glue those down on the back side. I did put a small piece of double-sided tape on the back side to hold the wings to the little gnome. So I'll just remove that, and I will be popping up the gnome using some thin foam squares. So lots and lots of dimension on this fun card. I'll use some of the larger squares and then some of the smaller pieces. Just want to make sure to get good coverage. Then I'll remove the release paper, and I'll be attaching the gnome on a vellum oval. So you can see I haven't done anything with that oval yet. It is still loose. I'll put the gnome on the oval first. Since this is vellum, I don't want to put adhesive on the back side until I have something on the front. So when I add the liquid adhesive, I'll put it just in the area where that gnome is. And then glue it to the center of the card. So the very outside edges of that oval won't be attached down, but adding some of the sentiments, it'll be fine, so it's not going to lift up at all. I'm using the Valentine word dies, so I'll have Be My Valentine. I use some pink cardstock for the words and some white shimmer cardstock for the outline. And I will pop up all of those pieces using some thin foam dimension. I'll put the word Valentine underneath the gnome. Before attaching it, I did pull up that oval and put just a tiny drop of liquid adhesive. Then the word Be will go in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm making sure to place it on the edge of that oval. And then My in the upper right-hand corner. And to finish off the card, I'm adding some of the glitter to the small heart and also the pink wings. Wings need to be sparkly. And I'll also use some glossy accents and add it to that heart. So it'll be a really glittery, shiny heart. So there is my finished card. I love how this one turned out, and I did make 2. I am having so much fun assembling all of these little gnomes. So my final project is not a card. Instead, I'll be making a treat bag topper using Jaded Blossom's extra large topper die. The paper collection is by Sunny Studio. It's their subtle gray tones. I'll be using the quilted pattern with the little heart. For the main piece of the topper, I use some red cardstock. I'll glue this pattern paper piece to the front. And all of these pieces have that fun stitch detail along the outside edge. So that is it for the topper. It's so simple. I'm putting some double-sided tape on the inside, and that will hold my treat bag in place and also keep that topper piece together. So remove the release paper. I haven't had a chance to buy any Valentine candy yet, but I did find some plain kisses and some red confetti strips. So I figured that would work. Just put those in a treat bag, roll down the top. I forgot to grab my stapler at first, so I put my glue bottle on top of that folded edge until I could go grab my stapler. I sealed the bag with 2 staples, then I put it inside this topper handle and just press it all together. Since there's the double-sided tape on there, it all stays together. Now I've already assembled this little gnome just to save on time on this video. I love this gnome so much. I couldn't resist having one gnome with a pink mustache and beard, and the wings I used some silver holographic cardstock, so it is super shiny. For the sentiment, I'll add XOXO, and that's from the Valentine word dies. And I'm also adding a couple of the stitched hearts, and those hearts are from the hat. As I mentioned earlier, if you want a couple of small stitch hearts, it's perfect. Then I'll finish it off adding some pink gem stickers and a little bit of glitter brush to all those hearts. So there is that little treat topper all finished. I love how this one turned out. The pink bearded gnome is definitely my favorite, and I have him holding the little heart arrow. Now here's another look at the 12 cards and the one project I made using some of Jaded Blossom's brand new January 2022 Valentine release. There are so many amazing products in this release. The gnomes are definitely my favorite. If you are interested, I do have links provided in the description box for the full release and also for all the products I used in this video. Jaded Blossom has quickly become one of my favorite craft companies. I love their stamps and dies. They really have something for everyone. If you love to color images, they have tons of great stamp images. If you're more like me and you don't really color images, but you love using dies, they have a wonderful variety of different dies available. If you've never checked out their products, I highly recommend them. The quality is amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.